Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. Today, I'm sitting down with Russ Macumber, who is the co-founder and managing director of Impressive Digital. So excited to be jumping in, talking about business, about your business specifically, about this crazy journey of entrepreneurship, kind of all the fun stuff that comes along with it. But Russ, I want to say thank you for taking some time with me today. Why don't we just start with a little bit of background? Give us kind of the 10,000-foot view of who you are, and tell us
Yep.
about Impressive Digital.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Tanner, for having me on. All right. So yeah, as you mentioned, I'm co-founder of this agency, Impressive. I've been a marketer and a kind of sales and marketing dude for a long time. And this agency is a couple of years old. So we've been on the ground here in Texas. You're probably recognizing the accent a bit. I'm not from here originally. Interestingly, when you mentioned my name then, and you'll have to excuse me too. I'm just coming off the back end of a bit of a cold flu, so I may lose my voice during this. But when you mentioned my name, then Macumber in Australia, I always say this is a quick hack. If you want to sound Australian, just instead of saying if you say it as an you instantly sound like an Aussie. So Macumber is how we pronounce it. Whereas you'd say down under, we say down under. So that's yeah, that's a little bit of Aussie for you. Yeah, so been here for a couple of years setting up this agency. My background, I've been a serial entrepreneur. I've started and exited a couple of businesses, an events business in the early noughties. I've had a couple of different wedding businesses through the 2000 teens. Is that how you say it, the teens? Yeah. And I've basically kind of run the gamut of marketing from running my own business to working brand side, agency side. I've worked for tech businesses. I've run sales teams for marketing tech businesses in the past. So yeah, I love what I do. And this agency, Impressive here in Austin, where we work with primarily B2C brands, lots of retail, e-commerce, um, and multi-site location brands. We work with Dine Brands, for example. They've got Fuzzy's Tacos, Applebee's and IHOP. They're kind of one of our more well-known brands that we work with. We also work with Precor, a really well-known fitness brand,
Mhm.
and a few others.
Very cool. So for those that aren't familiar, go a little bit deeper into the types of services that y'all provide. So marketing agency services.
Yep.
I know I've done a little bit of research and was looking at things, SEO, PPC, things like that. But
Yep.
kind of what channels are kind of the bread and butter for y'all? What do y'all
Sure.
really excel at when it comes to the different marketing methods that are out there?
Cool. Yeah, yeah. So we are very focused just on SEO and on paid media management. So SEO, everything from fully comprehensive SEO, which is everything across content, technical SEO, any web dev that supports the SEO, um, and content creation. So that's sort of more comprehensive. For some clients, it's more consulting where they've got their own copywriters, their own devs, and we're providing SEO management, SEO strategy, and guidance. And then when it comes to paid media, that basically just means anything PPC, paid ads. So frankly, 90% of our ad spend for our clients is on Google or Facebook. Outside of that, it's TikTok ads, Pinterest, Snapchat, LinkedIn, sprinklings of other channels, but it really is kind of largely Google and Facebook ads. So we run, ad campaigns. We'll do the build out, all the targeting, all the optimizing, reporting, working to agreed KPIs with clients. And from an SEO perspective, it's about growing traffic, growing rankings. But ideally, not ideally, like the whole point of it is to align on business outcomes. So it's not just, oh, look, we grew your rankings. It's, it might be a specific product or a specific collection that is a priority for a business. So it's trying to figure out, okay, well then how do we ramp up that section of the site? How do we make it more visible? How do we build authority in those pages? What's the structure of the site? Technically, what can we do? What sort of content? Those sort of bits and pieces. So we're pretty much 50-50 SEO and paid media. For most of our clients, we run both, but as far as a service offering, we're split down the middle. We've got a fully in-house team as well, so we don't outsource to. I mean, frankly, there's a lot of businesses in our space that just shop fronts, and then the work gets done elsewhere, and they might client face it, and they might do a good job of that, but you do lose some levels of control. and quality, quality assurance. So we keep everything in house.
Very cool. I'm curious. So on the paid ad side, with 90% being in Google and Facebook, do
Mm.
you when you've got a new client coming on board, do they typically come to you saying, "Hey, we want to be focused in Google ads or Facebook ads," or do you help them kind of discover maybe your target market's more on this one side and you should focus more on
Mm.
Facebook, or what tends to be kind of the direction that kind of clients come to you in focus where they want to go with paid
Yep.
ads.
Yep. They do tend to come in, wanting to narrow in on a specific channel, but it's the old, if you think of like, going to a doctor and you've got a symptom, you're like, I think this is the issue. Can you just check this out? A good doctor is going to ask a few questions to try to get to the root of it, to figure out if that is the actual issue or if it's further up the funnel or if it's wrong messaging, if it's wrong targeting, if it's a wrong platform altogether. So yes, clients do tend to come with a specific issue. I mean, maybe I couldn't put a number on it, but a percentage of the time they're bang on, and that does need addressing, and it might be the only thing that needs addressing. But a lot of the time, there's other things at play. Sometimes we often turn away potential customers because it might be an issue with their website or something else. It's actually not something that we do, which is causing
Mm.
causing their concern with that particular channel.
Ah, that makes sense. I love that. So, how about your role within the company? So, co-founder, managing director, kind of what hat or different hats do you get to wear in the business on a
Yep.
regular basis?
Yeah. So I mean, we're as I said, we've only been here a couple of years, so we're quite small at the moment. So a lot of it, I wear a bunch of hats. We've got 16 staff at the moment. In-house SEO, in-house paid media, project manager, account director, and then supporting staff across dev and copy and the like. Um, a big challenge for me, frankly, going into next year is to get better at not solving everyone's problems and delegating and not being what I've been for the last couple of years is um, the manager of the whole business. I'm checking on ad copy. I'm helping create SEO strategy or paid media strategy. I'm reporting to clients. I'm running the team. I'm basically pulling all of these campaigns together. Over the last 6 to 12 months, I've put some really good people in place who've been able to take a lot of that off my hands, which has been great. Um, it's actually helped a lot. We've done some really good work. We've won a bunch of awards this year. So it's proof to me that I can let go of the reins and I've got a really, really solid team around me to get the work done. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, my main my main role is growth. It's sales and marketing. And for 2024, that's where I want to be spending the lion's share of my time.
I love it. And out of curiosity, the growth side, sales, marketing, is that the area that you enjoy the most? Is that kind of where you want to spend your time? And then vice versa, what's on your plate today that you're just can't wait to give to somebody else as soon as you've got the right individual, the right team in place to be able to take it?
Yeah. 100% selling and creating marketing strategies. That is that's what I love most. So, I've built sales teams. I've run sales teams of up to, 20, 25 reps. Um, so in terms of building out a sales function, executing on a sales process, setting goals, hitting those goals, I've got a sports background. I'm very competitive. That comes quite natural to me, and that is where I'm most comfortable. And then helping build strategies for new clients and then handing that off to the team to execute on. And then also building out and helping execute on our own go-to-market strategy. That is, definitely what I enjoy most, definitely what I'm best at. So where I should be spending a lot more of my time. It's the old, high value, what's, the matrix of, effort, reward, that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
If I could just put, incrementally a couple more hours a week into growth opportunities, into selling specifically, I know we can expand so much quicker. With the Australian agency, so we did come out of we were born out of an Australian agency, which is a separate entity, but which I was the head of sales of. We helped that grow. My sales team helped that grow from 7 staff up to 100 staff and 500,000 to 20 mil over like a 3-year period. So I
Dang.
know that I can build something like that, but I guess I just need to get in my lane.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's fantastic. So when it comes to marketing for your business and you look to continue to get the word out there and find the ideal clients for your business, what is your philosophy? Is it, simply the things that you currently do in-house, or do you do, or I'll just stop there. What type, what's your philosophy to marketing for your business and getting the word out there about what you all do?
What's interesting, it's a classic cobbler in his shoes. You look down at the cobbler and his kids are wearing like, old worn shoes. We don't focus on our paid media and we don't focus on our SEO as much as we should. Our SEO is actually quite strong, but it needs a bit of a strategy pivot. You could ask any SEO agency that ranks for example, SEO Austin, which we do. We're like position 3 or something like that on the page. It's pure spam. It's rubbish leads. It's just people trying to sell me SEO services, weirdly. So we could definitely, and the plan this year is to allocate more of the team's time to getting those channels running. What's helped us grow though so far, and we've grown, fairly quickly over a 2-year period. Speaking engagements, I
Mm.
do masterclassing engagements around the country. Um, I speak at the DTCX events. I just spoke at the Digital Summit last week in Dallas. That was really strong. Got some really good interest from that. Um, so speaking engagements have been a big channel for us. We do some paid ads, not as much as we should, but we do them across a range of channels. Um, uh, Honestly, outbound selling, lots of prospecting, lots of getting out there and just putting my sales hat on. That's been a big driver for us. But for 2024, it's going to be more events, more speaking, and probably trying to keep things a bit more local than I have. I've been traveling to New York, Chicago, LA, and it's great. I'm meeting lots of really interesting people, but the follow up can get tougher when people want to meet in person. It's like, okay, I've got to get out to Chicago, then I've got to go to LA, and I've got to do this, and you're prioritizing your time and also trying to do everything else. So if I can keep things a bit more local in 2024, I think it's going to help us be much more efficient.
I love it. If I could, I want to ask a couple questions around, getting out there, doing, putting the sales hat on, doing a little bit of prospecting.
Mm.
Kind of what has been the methodology that you've found to be successful? Is it, simply just walking into a business and talking, starting a conversation? Is it, direct messages on LinkedIn or kind of other, professional platforms? Is it picking up the phone and just calling different folks that, have a business phone number? What has been kind of your strategy behind, getting a few of those from just getting out there and prospecting?
Yeah, so it's a work in progress. We've done a fair bit of cold email, very, very varying degrees of success. We're not running that right now. Um, my kind of always on strategy is ICP focused, and it's using LinkedIn and cold calling. If I am disciplined and stay to my prospecting schedule, that reaps rewards quite well. Um, that's a challenge for myself. Um, but yeah, it's not so much face to face. It is more phone and online via email and LinkedIn.
Nice. I love that. I think, for those out there that are kind of in that first few phases and figuring out how do I do marketing and, you know, prospecting and things like that, I think having just some of those little here's how you've done it, I think can really kind of bridge that gap sometimes. So I'd
Mm,
appreciate like you allowing me to ask that question.
of course.
Um, how about, as you look at your journey so far through, building and exiting businesses previously to building this company up to where it's at so far today, I have to guess that there have been kind of some roadblocks or challenges that you've had to overcome along the way that have kind
Yeah,
of allowed you to become the business person that you are today.
for sure.
I'm curious if there's, one or two scenarios or situations that kind of stand out in your journey that you can share with us on maybe a lesson that you've learned,
Mhm.
or something like that, that just really stands out in your journey.
For sure. I'm just peeking over here for a moment because I literally saw a post. I posted something yesterday about this, which it just made me really think. It was a Bowie quote. Aging is an extraordinary process where you become the person you always should have been. And I like that.
Ooh.
I feel like I look back at a lot of decisions, both business and life decisions over my 20s, especially, and and think about, geez, imagine. I feel pretty good about where I am now. I'm a father of 4. We're in a new country. We're growing a business pretty successfully. We've, lots of adventures and those sorts of things. So, um, let's see. Let's think about lessons though, stuff along the way. I'll tell you what. I've started a couple of businesses with friends, and I I don't know that I'd recommend it. both of them didn't end very well, frankly. One of them nearly cost me one of my best friends. It was an events business in the
Mm,
early noughties. Um, we built, it was in Melbourne. We ran events. I was in charge of all the marketing and lots of the networking. He was more operations focused. We didn't delineate our responsibilities very clearly at the start. We stepped into each other's lanes a lot and really put that friendship at risk. I'm happy to say 20 years later, he's still one of my best friends, but I think we could have kept that business going a lot longer and not have to sell it just to save our friendship. Um, that's one part. So that's one story is careful with your friends and just really delineating responsibilities from the
mm.
get-go, I think.
I love that one. And I don't know if it's just like it's been on my radar a little bit more recently that something's on your radar, you tend to hear it more and more. And I had someone, make the reminder to me at one point that it's much easier to get married than it is divorced. And when you're
Mm,
choosing, business partners, whether they're friends or not friends or anything else like that, but just being very aware of going through that process on the front end and know that sometimes it won't work out. So, is everything in place? Did you have some of those rules of the game in place up front? I think that's a huge, valuable lesson that I don't know, maybe just isn't talked about as much, and just seems to have hit my radar a lot more recently,
mm,
which is kind of cool. That's one of the lessons that come up today. So,
for sure.
um, yeah, that's really cool. So as you look forward into the next 3 to 5 years,
Mm,
what's the cast the vision for us, and what does the business look like? Maybe how does your role change? Obviously, we
yep.
talked a little bit about this next year, but go a little bit further. Take us, the next 3 to 5 years. What are you excited about? How do things shift and change as you continue to grow the business?
Yep. Um, a lot of growth. So we've grown. Our first year was 2022. We've doubled our revenue this year. We're projecting doubling the growth again next year. So I would assume over the next 3 to 5 years, it's a fair bit of growth. I would hope at some point over that time, if we're growing at a consistent rate profitably, and we're probably going to look to acquire an agency or two to really expand what we do. The acquisitions could either be around another service offering that we'd like to bring in house and be able to offer that to our clients, or it could be more sort of regional based. If we've got a really strong foothold here in Texas around the types of clients that we want to work with, it could potentially be down that path. We're not there yet, but I would hope to think in 3 to 5 years that's something that we're looking at doing. And then in terms of what I'm doing, just on that, just extending that growth role and that growth mindset, looking at how do I help us grow both from a sales perspective, both from a enriching and expanding our current relationships with clients, and then looking at growth through acquisitions and those sorts of things. If I've got a really strong leadership team in place, sorry, let me just rephrase that. I will have a really strong leadership team in place, who are, running the day to day, who have got department heads who are, really smart, really clever at what they do, great communicators. That's a big thing for me, is that my team very, strong on soft skills. Then that should free me up to just get out and get into grow mode by whatever means necessary.
I love it. So I do want to be respectful of time. I've got a few kind of rapid fire questions. I'd love to kind of bring out some additional, wisdom nuggets for the audience, like
Yeah.
little things that they can take out and use and all that sort of thing. So, um, as you look back at your journey so far through building additional businesses, through just living your life in general, what would you say for you has been your key to success?
Uh, I think most of my success, if I'm being honest, has happened in the last sort of 12, 13 years since I stopped drinking. So the big thing for me is kind of recognizing uh, like a weakness of mine and being able to focus on family, being able to focus on being productive and being a good role model for my parents and for my wife, Angelique, who was the one who really got me on the straight and narrow. So what was the question again? I kind of went on a tangent.
Key
So
to success, which I
yeah,
think you answered it perfectly. I
okay.
love that. How about advice? If you were to give just one piece of advice to other entrepreneurs out there, and you could only give them one piece, what piece of advice would you give them?
Oof. One pe I reckon mentors are huge. Like, I think that people should be looking for, and I've had I got told this a few years ago, and this has really stuck with me, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're working within an organization, whatever it is. But I think, especially for an entrepreneur, if you can find someone that's maybe 5 years ahead of where you are,
Mm.
that has got, it's close enough in their rear view that they can see all the mistakes you're about to make and they can short circuit those. That can be a super, super person to have on your team. But I also think that extending beyond that, if you can get someone who's 20 years older than you, like if you want to be really intentional about this, get someone who's 5 years ahead, and they don't have to have the same sort of business. They just have to have that same sort of mindset around growing a business that you've got. Then someone who's 20 years ahead, who has been a successful entrepreneur, but is also a successful human being, great family, great community, contributor. Just the kind of person you look at and you go, oh man, I hope I'm that cool when I'm that old. That kind of person to help align you on more of a holistic whole person vision, I think is a great, there's a word here that's not coming to me, but just a great kind of sense check to go, yep, I'm heading in the right direction, both short term and long term, because I've got a couple of people who I feel really
Mhm.
confident know what they're talking about.
I love that. Man, we could talk for days on just that one
Yeah.
individual little topic, but man, I love it. We'll leave it at that for now. Book recommendations. Any book recommendations that come to mind that you would recommend to the audience, or if nothing comes to mind, what's one book that you're either currently reading or have read
Yep.
most recently that, and it doesn't have to be business if you don't want it to be.
Okay. I love business books, so it'd probably be business. I'm a business book nerd. Uh, but Atomic Habits is
Mm,
not so much business, just habits life. I think that's a great book. Definitely recommend that. I love Bob Iger's Ride of a Lifetime. Like,
yeah.
not an entrepreneur, but a hugely successful um, professional who, I mean, his second go at Disney, maybe if we, because it does end at the point of them launching Disney Plus. So if you just end the book there, a great story, but also just a great story of like positive leadership with strong ethics. Like
Mhm.
it's one of my favorites. I could go on and on, but they're the two first ones that come to mind: Atomic Habits and Ride of a Lifetime.
Fantastic ones to add to the reading list. All right, we'll do one more rapid fire question, then we'll kind of get into our final wrap up here.
Hmm.
This one's just kind of fun. If you could choose, just one area in your business, and you only get to choose one, where you could take a little bit of magic dust and sprinkle it all over that one spot. Wake up tomorrow, it's 10 times better than it is today.
Oh,
Where would you choose to put that magic dust?
oh, that's a great question. I would, I would love a sales team. Like, actually, just one. I would love one superstar seller who sells ethically, who knows this product really well, and who can have really strong business conversations. Wouldn't most founders, like most entrepreneurs, just kill for just one killer salesperson who does it right well? That would be my magic dust, because I know that a really good salesperson can just exponentially grow your business. So,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that. That's such a great answer. So before we get into the final question, I always like to wrap these conversations up. For those that are watching this later on that want to learn more about you, learn more about the business, maybe connect with you in some way,
Mhm.
where can we advise them to go for more information?
Just LinkedIn, probably the easiest place. I mean, you can obviously head to impressivedigital.com. That's the business site. You'll see all of the stuff that we do, case studies and the like. To hit me personally, just look for Russ Macumber, Macumber on LinkedIn. If you like listening to stuff through your ears as opposed to where else you listen to stuff, that was weird. Um, but podcasts, I've got a podcast as well called SEO Success Stories. So if SEO is an interest at all, I interview some of the world's brightest SEO minds on that podcast. So, but probably LinkedIn. I talk about all of it on LinkedIn, frankly. So that's the place to find me.
Perfect. Well, I will make sure to put all of that in the video description below. And I highly encourage for all of you that are watching this later on, at minimum, go onto LinkedIn, send Russ a quick message here, say, hey, saw you on the business spotlight. Great conversation. It's always fun to make some additional connections, especially for those that are here to the Austin market. So with that, I'd like to end on one final question, which is simply, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, you told me this question was coming, and I started thinking about it. Most inspiring to me, um, most inspiring to me is I've got two parts to this. Okay, so one is seeing my kids take on, actually, this is what it is. This is what it is. Like doing something like leading in a way or telling my kids something or having them be part of a conversation in something that expands the way they look at the world, and then have them say it in a critically analytical way later. I don't want them parroting the words that I say. I'd like them thinking about it, processing it, and maybe challenging it later. That's what inspires me. That just makes me go, oh man, that's kind of the coolest thing I've done today.
Oh, I love that. Well, Russ, I want to say thank you again for taking the time. This has been an absolute pleasure. I am certain we could probably sit here and just dive into a whole bunch of longer conversation if we really had the time to. But this has been a lot of fun. I just want to say thank you again for taking the time.
Cool. Thanks, Tanner. I appreciate it.